My name is Perseverance Marimini, also known as Madam Speaker, also known as the CEO of Self Love. If you're joining in for the first time, welcome to the family of healing, self love, and motivation. And if you're returning, thank you so much for the continuous love and support that you're showing me. Guys, I've been attempting to do a get ready with me, and I am failing. I cut a lot of corners, and I've been trying to record since I started, but yeah, but this is my last attempt, all right, of me getting ready to go to church. I've already done my eyes, yeah, but the story time is on how I actually had to find a new church. For those who have not been following me for a long time, I say my page is growing, so obviously we have to have new members here who don't know or who have not been following me that long. So there's a first story time that I did, which is the story time of me losing my house. And way before I did that story time, I've been on TikTok, and when I was on TikTok, majority of my content there was on ministry and fashion design, and all of that had to change after I had lost my house and divorced. That's why I'm saying you need to go watch the most watched video on my channel, which is a story time of how I lost my house. And also I used to do a lot of fashion design content, which that also has been reduced because I don't even have space to make clothes and all that stuff. So there's a lot of change, that has been happening over the years in my life. But the two parts of my life that I've been openly sharing about, I don't share about a lot of things, I share a lot of information about marriage, divorce, parenting. I don't talk about dating now. I've decided that part of my life is going to be that. I don't talk about my job. I don't talk about, I basically talk about marriage, divorce, relationships, parenting, and just family dynamics, right? So all of that content had to change when I went through divorce, because obviously I can't post church content because I had stopped going to church. Okay, I didn't stop going to church. I had stopped ministering. And obviously the clothing content had to stop because I didn't have a place to make the clothes anymore. So I was like, okay, because I was busy with TikTok Rising Voices by that time. I was like, okay, let me just take people through my journey of divorce. And basically that's the story that I've been running with. And a lot of people who don't know me, who didn't know me before the divorce, they think I'm a divorce ambassador. They think I just started my TikTok channel just to speak about my divorce, but I've actually been there for long. I think I was on 200 and something thousand followers on TikTok when I went through my divorce. So those who've been following me way before that, they know for sure that my content was never about divorce. It was about God, the love of God. I do believe that this is something which is in my heart, which no matter where I am in my life, I will always speak about God, the goodness of God, and just how amazing God has been in my life. I'm cutting a lot of corners, guys, because I don't have a lot of things here. So when you see something that you know it's not supposed to be used for what I'm about to do, don't say anything. Shh. Know that I know. I just don't have the right tool for the job. Okay. So it happened that during the time when I was getting divorced, I faced a lot of rejection, guys. A lot of rejection. And obviously people were divided. They were taking my husband's side and some were taking my side, But those who were taking my side were very few. And the reason for that was because, remember, I was a loudmouth, So Christians don't like loudmouths. And also the pastor does not like loudmouths. But obviously he would say, please keep it down. People are laughing, people are talking about you. Let God fight for you, don't fight your battles. So even during the time when I was getting divorced, Abazalwane, they really just wanted to control me in a way, on how I should feel. And for me, I was like, no, man, you people don't know what I'm going through. You don't know what I'm feeling. Some of you have never even been divorced, but yet you want to tell me how to react or how to. And I realized that if I do according to what these people are advising me to do, I'm going to drop dead. I need to open up and speak. That's what I felt like doing. So because that was not ideal, I ended up losing a lot of people. People ended up isolating me, and it was really bad, to a point where members of the church were told that if they commented on my posts, they're going to be suspended, because it's like they're fueling me, they're enabling me, So some of the ladies that were in the same stokvel with, who were my fellow worship team members, they left the stokvel. It was really that bad. and the preaching about me started, and obviously I was not taking it so well. I would retaliate on Facebook. For some funny reason, everybody was told not to follow me, but the pastor was always eyeing my content, just to monitor me. I think at some point he ended up blocking me and unblocking me, because at some point I couldn't see his posts anymore. When I have reminders from Facebook of church, it would say the owner of the post, whatever did whatever. But sometime after that I would see the post and I'm like, oh, he has unblocked me. So yeah, people started moving away from me like that. I was all alone, guys. And during that time, remember, I'm in a prophetic ministry. So during that time, obviously, all doors have shut. I don't know the mind of God, and I do believe that God was not saying anything to that pastor specifically during that time. So it was really so frustrating. I was really in the wilderness and I was blindly walking. Even during the time when they were saying that I need to be quiet and whatever. And to me, that didn't make sense why I should be quiet, because I really felt like speaking, because I was going to explode and they were not going to be there to catch me. I've seen so many members of the church, some dying, their kids are left alone. Nobody's taking care of the kids even today. So I'm not about to die in a dignified manner just to please other people who can't even take care of my kids if anything happens to me. So I'm going to choose what will work for me and will give me that, relief that I feel like I needed. So obviously that will mean that if I'm choosing myself in that manner, then I'm all alone. So I was all alone. I struggled a lot, man. But I would still go to church, but I would not hear anything, because a bitterness had filled my heart. I was really, really church hurt. But I do realize that I'm not really healed 100% from the church hurt. I'm still recovering one day at a time. So every time when I would go to church, I remember I spoke to my therapist about this. I remember when, after everything had blown over and my things were now starting to look good, things were working out for me, I was now picking up. Now they are now putting me on a pedestal again at church. I was so angry during that time. Like the same people who were saying that everybody must stay away from me because I'm making the church look bad. Now all of a sudden they want to put me on a pedestal for being you are called, your assignment is bigger and this and that. I cried so much that day. But when I got home, I was so angry. I was like, how dare you, do me like that? And even the people who were told to stay away from me were so shocked. How, Madam Fundisi, now all of a sudden this is your daughter has been called by God, while you had alienated her and you said we must not comment, we have cut her off. Now you are going back to her. It was so messed up. But the more I was going to the church, the more I realized that, no, man, I'm still church head. So many things happened. I would go to church, so many things happened. So many people, lost people. But I was at the back now, because I was no longer, serving in the church, But anyway, after all of that, guys, I put a disclaimer that you must not judge me for the tools I'm using, because I'm really just using whatever that's available, not the right tool for the job. Okay, so please excuse me on that regard. Anyway, so after all of that, now they wanted me back. Hey, you belong in the presence of God to serve. And I'm thinking to myself, I've been through so much alone for the past 2 years. I've been in the wilderness alone. And the pastor would call me privately, you need to come to my office, we need to talk, the way we used to before. I'm like, I'm not going there. I would say okay in front of him, but I knew I was not going to go, because I was like, there's nothing I want to hear from God via you that God has not been saying for the past 2 years, that you had isolated me and alienated me. Whatever that God wants to say about my life, God will tell me. So basically for me, that meant I had already graduated from the school of life to a point where I'm not listening to somebody tell me about my life, about what God says about my life. You know what I mean? So I'd still be going to church and stuff. From time to time out here, pastor preaching and this and that. And he already knows that I'm a critic. I'm very vocal. I've been vocal even when I was at the church. I was a very vocal Christian. So me, I'm not one of those people who would agree to everything. But then I really felt like this year, I needed to start this year with God. And I needed God in a way that my spirit was familiar with God. I needed God, for myself. I was hungry and thirsty for God in a way that my spirit understood. Like, I knew salvation for myself. I'm not talking about my parents or anybody else, but for myself, I understood and knew salvation, and I had a relationship with God when I was in varsity. And that was 2008, 2009, 2010. So I felt like I needed God in that regard. I needed to feel the presence of God, because over the years, I had lost myself in that. I had lost myself in all of that. So I needed that back to basic type of relationship with God that only I understood and God understood, So that's when I decided that in the beginning of this year, I'm going to go church hunting. I remember I had a very beautiful relationship with God when I was in varsity. That was so beautiful. I feel like that was the peak of my relationship with God. So ever since life started happening, growing up, marriage, this and that, all the blows that I'd been taking because of life, I would always use that as my point of reference to say, God, this is where I want to go. This is where I want to go. So I really just wanted that for myself. So I couldn't get that. The problems of this world and everything that was happening was just too much for me. I was unable to get myself to be there where I once was, So it was really bad. So even after the marriage came to an end, after I suffered a lot of church hate and discrimination and whatnot, the first thing that I really wanted for myself was to rebuild my relationship with God, using that relationship that I once had when I was in varsity as my point of reference of where I want to start, or if at least I can get there, then I will know that I'm on the right track of really just starting afresh and getting to know God for myself without being monitored by anybody, without having any, depending on any prophecies or anything like that, or hearing other people's thoughts about my life, but just me and God. I just wanted to be me and God and no spectator, because when you are in the forefront, when you're in the worship team and you're doing all those things, you have people who are really just expecting you to pour into their cups, while sometimes your own cup is empty. So I know that I've had a full cycle of that. I know how it's like to be in a place where people expect you to pour into their cups, and you are really pouring, but you're pouring from emptiness because you're broken on the inside, So I really never wanted to go back to that place. That's probably one of the reasons why even now I'm not ready. Let me not say a fan. I'm not ready to serve. I feel like I have been born again, all over again, and I'm a baby, So I'm not in a position to be standing in front of anybody and doing anything. The time will come where I'll do all that. I remember this other brother of mine who's also a pastor asking me, saying, "Oh, so girl, are you still a backbencher in your new church? Why are you not serving?" I was like, hey, let me just find my feet. Let me do a back to basics first, and then I will now start serving after I have really found my feet and found myself and understand what the hell I'm doing, because it seems like I have to scratch everything, all the habits and everything that I've known all my life, and start afresh, allow God to lead this time, not think I have an idea of where God wants this to go, so then just rush there. So okay, where was I before I went off ramp? So after all of that, the church and everything, I'd go to church, but I would still be filled with so much bitterness in my heart. And I think the reason why I was filled with so much bitterness is because, it makes logical sense that when people have done you wrong, they should apologize. But Christians don't do that, especially pastors. They are never wrong. They would, for me, more than anything, what I felt like was an insult was a pastor just taking a U-turn and now being in my corner and now speaking positive things in my life after I've done so well for myself, after I've been selected as YouTube Black, after I have done women's conferences, after everything that he used to say, it's me just ridiculing myself, showed that it's really me just doing the work of God and ministering into the broken women in this society, then he will come back and say, God has called you, you are this, you are that. For me, that felt like an insult, honestly speaking. It didn't feel like a compliment or anything like that. I was like, this person really doesn't take me seriously. For me, it was going to be satisfactory if you use the same platform to say, don't follow this person is this and that, to say, listen, I was wrong. Start there. I was wrong. Not you just acting as if all of that didn't happen. God has called you. You are supposed to be serving in the house of the Lord. Because the first day he did that, he just gave me a mic and said I must sing. I did sing, Shem. But after that, I was angry, because I felt like I was being treated. I was being taken for a dog or a donkey, But anyway, after all of that, oh, this camera keeps shifting, guys. I apologize. I promise you guys, I'll have a nice, proper thing for you next time when I tell these stories. Anyway, after all of that, I then realized that I'm not hearing these people when they preach anymore. I don't know whether it's because I'm being overcome by the bitterness, and I'm not really a person who likes moving around. Like, I'm not a fan of hopping from one church to another. So, but then here, spiritually, I'm not fulfilled the way that I want to be fulfilled. So I need to find a way, to do something about this situation, because it's not going to go anywhere. So I ended up just saying 2024, I'm going to hop from one church to another, try to find a church. And when I do that, I could not feel at home. I was like, I'm not getting the church that I want. I didn't know what, I just said to myself, okay, because I don't know what I want, I know my spirit knows what it wants. So my spirit man will tell me when I have reached where I need to go, what I need in this season of my life. You understand what I mean? So when I went to Joburg, I was like, okay, I tried locally first and I couldn't find a church that I could resonate with, There's some beautiful churches around, but I was still not resonating with those churches. For me, it was like, I'm not hearing what the people are saying here, until. And also when I go to church, because remember, our church is a deliverance and prophetic ministry. So it's like a hospital, most of the teachings and all that stuff, it's more of, let's solve your problem. Are you going through what? Like, even the altar calls, they end with, I'll give an example. You have a calling on the inside of you. You're supposed to be doing something in the house of the Lord, or you're supposed to be doing something out there for God, but there's something that is holding you back. Come to the front, let us pray for you. So for me, I'm like, no, I'm not at that stage. I've already passed that stage where there is things which are holding me back. There's something that, like, there's nothing wrong. All I want is just to be inspired to do my purpose, to fulfill my purpose. That's all I want, So if the prophecy was saying you have an assignment to fulfill, you are supposed to be fulfilling your calling or whatever, something like that, come forward, then I'm gonna go. But if it says, but there's something that is holding you back, for me, it then cancels out everything. It says, no, it's not talking about me. I know what I'm supposed to be doing. You understand what I mean? So most of our sermons or our services, they're always around that, solving problems, or there must be something wrong with you that needs to be fixed, And I do understand that we go to church because we need to be inspired, we need to learn. But for me, I've reached a point where I feel like it's not always that you need to fix something. It's just a matter of you having to learn something, learn something. You get what I mean? So yeah, we solve problems a lot in our church, and for me, that was like, no, I don't hear it anymore. I don't want to solve problems anymore. I feel like I've done so much, and God has done so much with me, that at this point in my life, I really don't want to solve problems. I just want God to keep me where I am. I know where I am, and I know where I am is exactly where I'm supposed to be. I just need God. I want to be able to hear God all the time with everything that I'm doing. You get what I mean? So yeah. And then when I went church hunting, the first day that I went to this new church that I'm attending, so I was like, okay, I'll need a dual membership type of thing, where I'm going to this church, and I'm going to this church, But when I'm back here, I'm gonna go to my old church. And the reason why I wanna go to my old church when I'm here is because my kids are used to that church, you know. I don't want to teach my kids anything new, you know. I feel like let me be the first dove that is being sent out there to go and see how the world is like before I can bring my kids in. And also, like I always say that when it comes to dynamics and changing things, I really don't want to involve my kids in a lot of changes. I feel like I will only change them certain things if it's necessary. If it's not, then no. Rather, the kids shouldn't be affected by adults' behavior or adults' decisions, you know. I always speak about that when I speak about parenting and all that stuff, to say if a marriage has come to an end, can the kids not suffer, you know? And I think me and my ex, we have done so well in terms of making sure that the kids don't lack anything that they've been having when we were still together. And when I say lack anything, I'm not talking about materialistic things. I'm talking about the emotional stuff, you know, the support and just their presence of both the parents. They are not lacking any of that. My son, at some point, you know, he's turning 10 this year. He used to think that me and the dad don't talk. So he would always try to manipulate us. Mama, this is what I need. Go to the dad, dad, this is what I need. And the dad would call me, your son says this is what he needs. I'd be like, no, 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 no. You know, I already did that for him. So I would go to the son and confront him and said, Papa said this. And then he realized that, hey, these two, they are talking. Then he stopped that immediately, you know. So that's what I'm saying, that in terms of keeping things standard for the kids, try to minimize changing things, their routines and whatnot. I've done exceptionally well with that, you know. We have done well, me and my ex, and I'm so damn proud of us, even in our differences, you know. But yeah, so I went to this church that for the longest time I had been seeing the pastor and one member of the church that I didn't even know was going to the church, you know. I found out when I went preaching on Instagram. I'd always say, man, I wanna visit this church. But initially when I said I wanted to visit this church, I didn't think I was gonna visit it and stay. I just thought I wanna visit it in J because it seems like a fun church. When I got there, guys, yo. And the church is like the mother body, like the main branch is like one of the big churches in Venda. You know, I didn't even know that. Guys, now I'm Venda, but I'm another type of Venda, hey? I come from Mashamba village. Mashamba village should not even be considered Venda because we are like so isolated from the rest of Venda, you know, like proper Venda. But anyway, I went to that church for the first time, and the entire preaching was not about me having problems and me being solved, me having my problem solved. The first teaching that I heard from that church, I will never forget. It was about how you being an eagle. It was like an inspiration, you know. They love teaching the book of Joshua, you know. You know how Elijah and Elisha, the kings, they love the kings. And they were talking about the first day when I went there, the pastor is like one of those teachers who use figures of speech, you know, parables, Jesus type of thing. So we were speaking about an eagle and a chicken, an eagle which grew up with chickens because the egg of the eagle was dropped in the chickens, whatever. It was found somewhere and it was placed with chickens. That eagle grew up with chickens and behaved like a chicken. And one day it happened that somebody had to take it to new heights and whatever, and it had no choice but to spread its wings and fly, you know. So I was talking about how sometimes situations happen in your life just to force you to step out of your comfort zone and start spreading your wings and fly. You are not going to behave like a chicken anymore. If you've been surrounding yourself with chickens for the longest time, may God give you the grace to now start behaving like what God has called you to behave like, you know. And he spoke about double portion, you know, Elijah and Elisha, and all that stuff. So while he was preaching, I really felt like the message was for me, and I was crying. I mean, I'm one of those people that when the message is for me and it hits really hard, I cry, you know. So I was crying the whole time. And from that, I attended the second service. I loved it as well, and the rest is history. But also, when I started going back there again, I declared that I have a church at home, you know, and I have a church here. After I got my healing, you know, from just attending the other church, I started attending this church that I'm going to today without feeling any pain, without feeling any resentment, without feeling anything towards this church, you know. So that's why I'm saying that I would do bit by bit. I'm healing from my church hurt. Yes, we're going to church now. I'm almost done. So guys, that's my cue to go. So maybe I'll do another part. Anything else that you want me to talk about my journey to Christianity and why I am now? I'm enjoying where I am. I'm sitting right at the back. I'm just being a backbencher, and I go in church and I worship and I pray and I cry and I sing and I dance and I go home, and that's all I've been doing, and I'm enjoying myself. Anyway, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want me to do a part 2, maybe more in detail of what I mean when I say now I found a home and how that is going and whatnot, please do let me know. I'm more than willing to do that. Okay, I love you. God bless you. I'll see you on the next upload. Bye.